The questionnaires is a very important part in the life of any evaluator. And questionnaires are like most widely used instrument. And we talked about why first the steps in having a questionnaire. The first one was to decide that you want a questionnaire, and then constructing a real questionnaire, and then administering it. So we were on the step construction of a questionnaire, and the questionnaires can be having different formats. They could be open format and closed format questionnaires. So what kind of questionnaires are available to us? It is important to learn that also. So now from this point, I will be sharing my screen with you so that everything is obvious to you. Just give me 1 minute. So we have different formats for questionnaires. There are only two formats available: open response questionnaires. Like you can write more in the open response. You're not bound by the choices given by the constructor who constructs the questionnaire. A person is not bound by that. And it is used for more complex questions, which may have alternatives, which may not have a straight answer, which may need explanation to be done, and which may require some pros and cons to be explained before anybody gives his opinion or his question. And it gives a freedom in the way in which they can be answered. So it is like mostly it is used for adult and senior management people, or even middle management, who have a number of things to say and explain their actions. And mostly we use the closed response questions, because here you can give choices, and people can choose from the choices, and it is used for simple questions, and the respondent has to choose from among a number of answers that have been provided by the constructor. And framing such questionnaires is the real tough time, and we must spend a lot of time and thinking before we construct such questionnaires. This is an example. I think I showed it in the last class also. For example, in your opinion, what new skills did you acquire through the training and carrying out your project? This kind of question can be there. Then you can have the true or false, yes or no, multiple choice questions, which gives more choices. Like this can be also be used for testing the knowledge of a person. Hmm? And his opinions also. The yes and no questionnaire can be useful for that, where you don't need elaborate answers. Then we have something called rating scales. It gives more freedom. Like although it is still closed questionnaire, but it gives you a lot of freedom. So we'll talk about these two: rating scales and ranking scales. In ranking scales, every item is given a rank. Like there are a number of statements, and the respondent has to place a number, like which he thinks is the priority or which he thinks is more important. We can have two-way questionnaires where you can have choices, like a middle choice also. Um, a better approach can be like you should add third choice, do not know. And like it makes some people are in between, like they don't know, so they're not sure, so they can be added. This is an example. Will you choose another project based on computer assisted training? Yes, somebody could say. No, somebody could say I don't know. Like it depends. It could be whether I need this thing. There could be various reasons. This is an example of the multiple choice questions. You must be familiar with this already because in all the competitive examinations you get multiple choice questions. Now let us talk about the rating scales. And it is used mostly in informal settings. Hmm? And it is of two kinds. One is called the Likert scale. Now, what does Likert scale do is a list of statements are written and a person has to make a judgment on every item. And the scales may vary from simple alternatives. For example, I agree, I do not agree, or agree, disagree, hmm, to a 10-point scale. It's like simple, alternative, agree, disagree, or it could be just a 10, gradation of 10. Normally, the scales used are 3 to 6.1s. Even numbered scales for force a choice. Like you have to be either side. You agree or you do not agree. For example, there could be choices like strongly agree, agree, or somewhat agree, like that. So you can, and on the other side also, you can have a in between choice also. But like you will either be with the agree point or with the disagree point. And similarly, on this is the other side, it could be somewhat disagree, disagree, or strongly disagree. So a person has to either agree or disagree. But you can give, if you wish, you can give a odd numbered one also. And in that, you can allow a neutral position. Hmm? Like there can be a central tendency also. Then we have the semantic differential scale. It is used for general reaction to something. It could be a person, on a faculty also you can make that, or on some policy also, object or materials it is focusing on, and it allows a strong opinion. Now we must use very appropriate language, and like you can use paired adjectives, bipolar opposites. I'll show you an example, then you will understand what is this about. And you can have either side of the page, like with 5, 6, or 7 possible positions in between. It could be 5 scale, or it could be 6 scale, or 7 scale. So first, let's look at the Likert scale. I'll just show you an example. And I'll share the Word file that I have. Here, you have the Likert scale. Actually, here you have a list of things, a list of statements, and people have to make judgment. And it could be simple alternatives. For example, I agree to disagree, and you go with gradation too, from agree to disagree. You can have a 10-point scale also. And normally the scales used are 3 to 6.1s. And this is an example. You can allow a central tendency if it is an odd one, if you want that people should be doing that. So, for example, this is the one. A person can tick or just put a ring, like from 5, this scale is from 5 to 1. Somebody, how relevant do you think this topic is to your everyday job? This is the question that is thrown to the participants. And somebody may choose very relevant. When he's very excited about it, he has learned a lot, then he can choose that. And quite relevant, like, yes, it was relevant to many aspects, but not to some. And relevant is like, yeah, it was okay, it's good to know about it. A little relevant, most of it was not, and only a small portion was relevant, and not at all relevant, like it was a useless thing to learn. So these are the choices that can be given, and a person can put a tick or you can put a ring around them. So It can be made this way. The choices can be made this way. Now I'll talk about the semantic differential scales. Actually, this is used when people think that they have to give strong opinions, or you want to elicit strong responses from them. And it represents a general reaction to the person, object, or materials it is focusing on. And let's have a look at it. Here you use paired objectives, that is bipolar opposites. For example, it was very good, it wasn't good at all, it was useless, and it is written on either side of the page. Now, the pairs should be arranged so that the positive and negative adjectives are not all on the right or the left. If the same pair are used in a number of items, they should be in the same order. And the score is obtained by giving 0 for the most negative response and 6 for the most positive. 0 is used so that they can be displayed graphically with a 0 base on the graph. This is an example. So what we do is we add up all the scores from 0 to 6, whatever the person has given his choice as, and then total them and see what his score is. This is one example. The help and advice given to tackle the project was informative or uninformative. So that person can choose 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, for example, it was boring, but it was in somebody found it interesting. So you see, these are bipolar opposites, superficial or profound. These are bipolar opposites, helpful or unhelpful. Hmm? So this way, semantic scales can be made, and a person puts the number here, and he can tick here, and you can put a number 0 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So you can just add up the numbers for all the items, and then you can see what the result is. So here strong opinions are required from people. So these are the two kinds of scales that we do. And let me just share it, the PowerPoint again. So this was the example. Now the next step is, now you have constructed the questionnaire. Now you need to administer the questionnaire. So there will be things that you need to keep in mind. Now you can ask the name of the respondents. It depends totally upon the situation. At places you may need them to give their candid opinion, their frank views. Then you need not insist upon their giving their names. So asking the respondent's name may give answers less farther right than if the option of anonymity is given. So people will give their frank opinions if they're not under the fear that they will be known. Like who is writing this is not known, then it is easier for people to come forward. And the respondent's name, of course, it allows for encouragement of a higher response rate. Like if you want all the people to write, then we must ask them to write their names so that we know who has not written, who has not given the questionnaire. So otherwise it will be very difficult to find out who has not submitted his questionnaire. So the respondent's name allows for encouragement of a higher response rate to a questionnaire by a follow-up request for its return. So who has not given, then you can ask him to give it. You can give a time slot also. That is one problem in administering questionnaires, especially if you are doing it through email and online. Then people, like they may take more time than is required, or they may not follow the deadline you have given. So that is one thing. Now, the next step is interpreting the results of the questionnaire, and that is the most important thing for the evaluator. Now, you're ready with your information, with the data, and you have to interpret the results of the questionnaire. The first thing is that it will not be common to all the questionnaires, and there's no solution sort of a thing or a formula sort of a thing that such a questionnaire can be used. So there are no magic formulas to interpret the results, but you can have some clues, and these clues really help. Does the information match up with their objectives and what they expected to find it? This could be a choice also, like does the information match up with their objectives or what they expected to find? And can the information be compared with a similar or related study or investigation? Sometimes you may be surprised. You were expecting something, but the results may be telling you entirely different thing. As for example happens in the opinions poll when elections are being held, the opinion poll may be telling you something, and through the questionnaires they might be or true or false or whatever close questions they throw to people, it may be altogether different than what you expect. So, does the information match up with their objectives or what they expected to find? And can the information be compared with a similar or related study or investigation? For example, there are several studies available which have already been done. You can be even comparing it with that. Does the information appear complete enough to aid deciding courses of action? So it should be actually the questionnaire should be made in such a way that you must get complete information, and a lot of thinking should go in before preparing the questionnaire. So does the information appear complete enough to aid deciding the courses of action? Whichever purpose you chose, and you must be remembering that we had a choice of purposes for evaluation of training. So whichever purpose you choose, will this information be enough? And the next step is, of course, prepare a report and submit. Submit this. So now we will go on to a different aspect of evaluation. We have some ready-made models which we can use, and behavioral scientists have been um, finding ways to categorize, to go about evaluating training courses. So they have formed models of evaluation. So the first model that is very popular, in fact, nowadays it is the most popular model, Kirkpatrick model. And this model has been in use for quite some time, and there are many variations to this. People have made their own variations to the Kirkpatrick model, but the basic thing remains the same. So let us talk about the Kirkpatrick model. It was made by Professor Donald Kirkpatrick, and this was first published in 1959. So it had 4 levels, and he started with four levels of evaluation. Later, it was consolidated in a book, and that is called Evaluating Training Programs. So if you can catch hold of this book, this was published in 1994, you will get the complete idea of what he has made and how he has gone about doing evaluation of training. It is most popular model, but now in 2016, uh, his son James and his mother Wendy, they reviewed and updated the actual theory which Donald Kirkpatrick put forward, and they have introduced a new world Kirkpatrick model. This is the publication, and it has an update on the Donald Kirkpatrick model. So what does the model has? Actually, what you are seeing on your screen is a picture of different levels at which evaluation can be done. If you remember, in the first or the second session, we saw 5 points on which evaluation can be done. So it is somewhat like that only. And these are the points on which evaluation is mostly done. And at each point, like what kind of evaluation you will be doing, that becomes important. So the first level is the reaction level, and the size also denotes the volume of activities that are presently happening. Ideally, the most of the activities should be happening at results level, which is the ultimate level, and it is more complex. It is very, very complex at this stage. But what I mean here is the size of this denotes that most of the people are using this. This is most widely used. Hmm? So what we check at the reaction level, was the training okay or not? Was the training good enough or not? Did the learners enjoy the training? Like, it includes everything. Was the material okay? Was the faculty okay? Were the facilities available? The PowerPoint, the video, or the lectures, or the exercises, were they good enough or not? All this is checked at the reaction level. So the basic thing that we ask here is, did the learners enjoy the training? Then the second level is the learning level. Here actually we are more concerned about the learning happening. And the main question here is, like, it is somewhat a transit state. The person has, the trainee has undergone the training, and he's going to his job. And did the learning transfer occur? So this could be after, like, maybe it could be done at the job level and also at the training center level, checking on whether they would be able to transfer the learning, whether the course was designed in such a way. So what is the enhancement in learning? That is what we check here. So, did the learning transfer occur? This is the basic question that you ask when you do this level of evaluation. Then, say after 6 months of the training or 1 year, what was the change in the performance? Has the performance increased or not? That is the level 3. Did the training change the behavior of the person? Here, behavior includes knowledge, skill, and attitude. Actually, whatever you have learned in the training, whatever a participant learns during the training, that has to be practiced at job. And the real result is after some gap. So you can very well understand that reaction level would be immediate, like just after the training is over or during the training, even during the training. And this will also be, it could be just after the training, or you can give them an exam and know. And you can also know at the job, you can make some exercises which they do on the job, whether they have really retained something from the training. And like, this is also after some time of the training, when the person is settled in his job, or maybe even at the end of the training. And impact would be after, say, when the trainee has settled in his job and he's really performing, then seeing the enhancement, and then filtering out whether it is really due to the training, or was it some due to some factors that were there in the organization, some environmental factors there. And then results is the ultimate level. According to him, did the training influence performance of the organization as a whole, or the whole workforce as a whole, or say if it was a supervisor's training, all the supervisors as a whole? Here you try to check the results that the training has provided to the organization. And this will be, say, after some time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, when a quantum of workforce has been trained. So that is the ultimate level. And sadly, at least in India, the Last three levels are non-existent. Even in the West, the more training conscious organizations, they're doing to the reaction and learning level, but this level is very less, hardly 15 to 20%. So the four levels of Kirkpatrick are, let's go through it again. First is the reaction level. To what extent did the delegates react favorably to the training course? This is the basic question that you ask. Level 2 is learning. To what degree did the delegates acquire the intended knowledge? How much knowledge did they gain? Their skills and attitudes as set out in the course objectives based on their participation in the training. If you remember the systematic approach to training, we have started with the training needs analysis and we have a list of skills or the knowledge that the people need. So here we try to match whether what we started with the training needs analysis, has the training been able to do that? Has it been able to enhance the knowledge, skills, and attitude, and which were written in the course objective when we started the training? And are the course objectives matching? Have they been able to give them that? Then the level 3 is the job performance level. And here we check the behavior, the performance. To what degree did the delegates apply what they have learned on the course? For example, it was a sales course. Have the sales been have the sales enhanced? Has there been increase in a number of products being sold by, say, that particular person? And so when they're back at work, has it enhanced their performance? And the level 4 is the results. To what degree did targeted outcomes occur as a result of the training course and the subsequent work based reinforcement of the training? So, what impact does the training have? What impact is happening on the participants so that the training could be useful, like it has been useful to the organization? And naturally, the time taken to do the reaction would be lesser, learning would be a little more, to check the behavior the job will be still more, say after 6 months 7 months of the training. Level 4 will be still later, when the workforce has settled in the organization. If you're doing the reaction L1 training and your job is to check the as evaluate the reaction, then the basic questions that you must build, and your questionnaire should be built around what is the number one goal of your training, and whether it is matching the organization goals, whether it is matching the training needs analysis list that you have obtained. And three metrics may help you decide how well they received it. The first metric would be how engaged the audience was during your training. Was it interesting? Were people finding it useful? How much contribution did they put in and how actively did they do that? Was it were the participants contributing or not, or whether it was only the training institution who was doing it or the faculty member who was doing it? How was their overall reaction to your training? Did they find it good? Did they find it useful? So these are the things that you will be like, these are the metrics which will help you decide whether the training is good or not. And not only you can get feedback on the training, it will also help you greatly improve your next training. So this reaction level is actually a very important level because it gives you immediate answers. It tells you immediately how you are faring. And you can definitely, based upon this, improve your next training. And it can be done even unit wise. Like one unit was this, same faculty is teaching in one unit, and that person can improve her or his second unit also. Hmm? It is not necessary that it will be done only at the end of the training. It can be done during the training also. And this is because you can easily identify significant topics that you might have missed by any chance. There could be like over a time people change, like the training needs analysis were done maybe 1 year back and the training is being held now, so there could be a little mismatch. Now the participants have gained some knowledge. So whether it is still the same or do they need some advanced training, anything could be there. So these are the things that will help you. These are the things that will be like obvious to you when you do the reaction level evaluation. And the most likely and most easy way of doing it is to construct an immediate reaction questionnaire where you can ask questions about the training to the people, and you can even ask the trainees about the faculty uh, um, behavior, like faculty's feedback, whether the training, the delivery of the lecture was okay, whether the PowerPoint used was okay, whether the video or the any instruments that person used were good enough or not. So, and you can also identify any defects in design of training at this point. When you're evaluating this, then it is easy because you can throw questions on the course, also the curriculum, also how the course went, the sequencing of the topics, and so on. Here you can ask the questions like these: do you think the training was successful? Or you can build your questions around this: was the like topic on uh, a subtopic in the training was good enough, how can it be used, and so on. Would you recommend this training to others in your unit? You can ask this. If anything, what would you change about this class and why? So these are the questions that you can put in your questionnaire. In your opinion, what are strong and weak points of this class? You can ask them to do this. Did the training activities, exercises engage you? What could be the three most valuable stuff that you learned by attending this training? You can even ask them, what is a takeaway from the training? How good or bad were the venue? Was there any disturbing noise or anything? You can ask them. Was the light enough illuminated or not? How good or bad was the presentation style in your opinion? You can ask. Actually, what we have written here is the open ended questions, but your questionnaire can be built upon around these questions. And you can give a yes or no, or you can give a rating scale in your questions, as you have already seen. From this training program, how much do you think you can apply at your job? This is how much and what kind of support might you need when applying the learned knowledge at your job? Hmm? So, like, will it be really practicable to use it or not? Hmm? What the trainees have or have not learned from your training? This is a question for the learning level too. Hmm? If you're doing the evaluation about learning, then the first and foremost thing is what did the trainings have or have not learned? There is one new and innovative addition in the New World version of Kirkpatrick. It also measures how the trainees think they can do things differently, how confidently they feel in that aspect, and what the source of their motivation is. As a result, you can assess how the training has imparted skills and knowledge to them, their self confidence, and determination. So your questionnaire should be built around this. It's not necessary every time that you have a questionnaire. You can have other instruments also. You can have interviews also, especially during the reaction level and even in the learning level. You can, or you can just put them through a test also. So as a result, you can assess how the training has imparted skills and knowledge to them. What is the difference in their self confidence in handling things or doing, especially if it is a behavioral training, and whether they are determined to use it. As a rule of thumb, it is good to evaluate these areas before and after the training. So, even before the training begins, you can check the learning, you can have a test also, and you can put another one after the training is over to see the difference. What did they, what was their position earlier, and what is after the training. To do it effectively, keep your training objectives measurable. By measurable, I mean like if it is quantified, then it is easier. Hmm? A good way to do this is to have a conversation or quick question answer session with your trainees. So you can have that also, and orally also you can ask. And this would help you assess their knowledge level, attitudes, and skill level as well. And you can use formative or summative assessment. I think you remember the difference between formative and summative assessments. Formative is when you're just, they do not have a fear of passing or failing. They just answer questions, or you put them through a test, or you give them an exercise to gauge their enhancement in their knowledge. And summative assessment is when you declare them pass or fail, whether they have really done it or not. Mostly summative assessment is either linked with increments or promotions or more responsibilities or positions in uh, different like strategic posts or some posts where you need to have some particular skills. It could also be objective or subjective tests. So objective tests are more common nowadays. Subjective tests are like you have to select the subjective tests very carefully, and the person who is checking the subjective tests has to be very mature and thorough in this. Because in the objective test, you have this freedom. You can have a key answer key, and you can give it to anybody who can check them, or you can do it through the computer also. But in subjective assessments, you need to have capability of people who can handle alternatives, who can handle, like, there cannot be a model answer for subjective tests, because every person will be writing in his own way, and there are different ways to say the same thing. Now the third level. In the Kirkpatrick, the third level is the behavior level. And here in this level, we test how much trainees apply the training received to their jobs. What is the enhancement in their job performance? Huh? Whether it is a knowledge based training or skills based training, you must have methods to gauge that. In fact, the institutes, ideally, the training institute or the trainer should be capable enough to frame some questionnaires or some tests that their supervisors, the trainees supervisors, can administer after, say, 6 months or 5 months or 3 months of training, depending upon the kind of training where the skills or knowledge is gained. And that would help the supervisor. That ideally that should be the case where the trainer is also involved. And this level, but mostly it is happening at the organization where the trainee has gone after the training has completed, and he's settled for 6 or 7 months, and he's applying it to his job. So what is the change in enhancement? Now here what do we do is we focus on such processes. We develop such processes which help the participant, the trainer, the trainee. And when he has come back from the training, he should be encouraged. And there should be some positive reward, some like appreciation or some recognition of behavioral changes, and some required drivers. If a trainee uses the newly learned skill effectively, then that should be highlighted and appreciated. It like we should measure the change in behavior Mostly 3 months after the training. It could be, it depends upon what kind of a training it is. It could be 6 months or 3 months, 6 months, even 5 months. Then you can do it by conducting interviews and observation. Like you can interview the supervisor, you can even interview the trainee and see, ask them to self evaluate themselves, how much they have fared, and take the opinion of the supervisors also. Involving the supervisors is very important here, and they would be the ones who will be observing them. And observation is the most effective tool here. You can even conduct interviews. Now we come to the results level. That is the ultimate level put forth by Kirkpatrick, and it is regarded as the primary goal of the program, and it must be aligned with the organizational goals. Why the training was held. That is the primary goal. And you determine the overall success of the training based on critical business objectives. So, what is important for the organization? They must be having some business objectives which must be matched, which must give you, they would be the indicators. For example, if you have less expenditure, decreased spending, then that is an indication. Greater return on investment. ROI stands for return on investment. Like they invested in the training, and how much enhancement in job has happened, that people are performing very well now, and the organization is getting more profits. Better quality of products, that is another indicator. More work efficiency in employees, this can be another indicator, or this could be a business objective also. Actually, this evaluation is most time consuming, and the people you will be covering under your evaluation will be larger. Hmm? Because if you start with the reaction level, it is only the participants in the training, say 24, 40 people. Here it could be much larger population of the organization, and it will be most time consuming, and you might have to hire people, experts. It is challenging also. It is challenging to predict which advantages or outcomes and results are associated with the training. It could be that the organization benefited due to some other factors rather than training. So, filtering it out and separating them would be a challenge and would be a difficult task. Here, you need effective ways to evaluate the outcomes in the longer run. What are the outcomes of the training, the results of the training that are there? And results must be communicated to all stakeholders. Mostly organizations communicate these results through their annual reports or their websites and or their success stories. So it should be all stakeholders. Stakeholders could be the employees, the line managers, the senior management, the customers of the organization. That so the results must be shared and communicated to them.
Ma'am, may I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, you mentioned that the difference between level 1 and level 4 is primary
Mhm.
is apart from the other things in the size of the participants. Level 1 is those people who have actually participated in the training, and level 4 you are saying could have more people also.
Mhm.
Uh,
Like
but why
what I
is
meant
this
here
difference?
was, just a minute, what I meant here was, like, say, four batches, five batches, or six batches of training have happened. It is after that that you measure the result. Otherwise, it will be like too premature to do that. That is what I meant when I said the size of the population of at level one and level four will be different. Yeah.
Uh,
Now,
can
please
we
carry on. Yeah.
can we also say, ma'am, that the training has got some direct effects and it has also got some indirect effects? If
Yes,
hypothetically speaking,
definitely.
I have been trained and I have joined the workforce. My
Mhm.
attitude and my behavior and my skill levels are indirectly going to impact my co-workers who have not been a part of the training, and their systems also and their work efficiency may have also improved, may not have improved in the manner in which or to the quantum of which my work efficiency has improved, but indirect effect of my way of working has affected them also. So does it mean that the result will also tackle as to what is the improved behavior of those people who have not directly been a part of the training?
Definitely, definitely, because especially like it is recommended that supervisors or people in middle management should be trained so that even the subordinates learn from them. And yes, you're right, it will include that also. Now
Okay,
the
thank you.
organization has to find the ways and the means to do that.
Okay, thank
Of
you, ma'am.
course, Anupam, it was Anupam who was talking, isn't it? Of course,
Yes,
like
ma'am.
you, it will be difficult for you to filter that out, but that would be a contributing factor. But when we talk about return on investments, you will have to filter that out, because just because of the training what has happened, so that you can decide for the future trainings also. Indeed, that would be one thing that would the organization would measure.
No, ma'am.
In fact, you know what happens, like in some cases, the for example, right to information and other acts in the government created a pool. Like some people have, because it is not possible to train everybody. And we had selected people who were trained, and then they can give further training to their subordinates. It would be informal, it cannot be a formal training, but the results of this training percolate and they go to the different people also. So that does have impact on the result, and you're very right.
Okay, ठीक. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
So
I just want to
yeah.
ask one more thing related to this. Ma'am,
Hmm.
though I had interacted with the company's manager, training manager, to know about the levels they are doing. So they said that normally they go for L till L3. And the fourth, so I'm sure they would be following the Kirkpatrick model only, though the fourth is there, but they must not be doing it. The second
Hmm.
thing is, ma'am, that ROI that you are mentioning, there are various models, like you last time shared about the Phillips model, and here also
Hmm.
I can find that there is an ROI model. So why
Yeah.
we go for different
Actually,
models though
Phillips
it is there?
model, you can say it is synonymous with the ROI. What Phillips has
Okay,
done is he has taken the Kirkpatrick models, make a smaller changes here and there, and added another level, that is the fifth level, a return on
okay,
investment. That is
okay. But
more
does it mean that we cannot
quantifiable
calculate?
thing.
Okay, okay, okay. Quantifiable. Okay.
Hmm.
Thanks, ma'am. Let's see.
So we will do that also. That is in your course. And in one of the sessions, I think maybe in the next session, we will be talking about the Phillips model and the ROI model. So you can take it as synonymous also, because there are people have come up with different versions of their own of the same models. Hmm?
Thanks, ma'am.
So like on the we are still on the Kirkpatrick model. So level 4 has a strategy. Like you can have a strategy, and to have an effective training for level 4 evaluation, the first thing is you must define the final results. Huh? When you start the training itself at training needs analysis uh, stage, you must be able to define what results you expect. Hmm? And whether the training has been, when you're doing the level 4 evaluation, then you must be able to match it and see what change has happened, whether our final results, the training has given us these results that should be definite, and you should be able to define when doing the level 4 strategy uh, evaluation. And you break this down to behavior that will drive the results. What kind of behaviors are expected? Behavior here includes knowledge, skill, and attitude. What kind of behavior do we expect in people which will give these results? Are they really getting it? Then it will become easier for you to do this evaluation. Finally, break those down to learning objectives that will drive what kind of learning objectives they would require, and that would drive the behavior. This helps in prioritizing the goals and ultimately the outcome of the level, like what is happening and ultimately what are the final results. This helps in prioritizing the goals. Now let us see the outcomes of level 4. If you do this evaluation and it is in your reports, you attract more people, good people to the organization. You have higher level of motivation in the workforce. You have reduced work lags and procrastination. It helps in that. The I mentioned it earlier also. There could be more sales. It could be higher level of customer service, customer satisfaction, reduction in complaints, number of complaints, greater and more efficient production. The quality of products may be increasing. It depends upon the kind of products or service the organization is giving. Higher worker retention. Attrition will be less. People leaving the job would be less because there's more motivation in the workforce, and reduced workers' complaints that could be there. So these are the things that we gain if we do the level 4 evaluation. This is only illustrative. This is not all. It could be some many things may be coming to your own mind also. I've just shown you this as an example. So there are of course challenges. It's not easy to do, and there has been criticism also of Kirkpatrick's model. And it is possible that you do not require to do evaluation on the all the 4 levels. They may not be relevant for all the trainings. For example, behavioral training, gender sensitization, for example, you need to do only level 1 or probably 2. It is very difficult to measure level 3 or 4. 4 may not be at all relevant. And it is difficult to choose the right metrics and get the right result at level 4. Like whether I showed you some metrics earlier, and it's very difficult to choose which metric should we have. You could have a combination of metrics, of course. And how to overcome this? Involve the stakeholders. Ask them. You can send like questionnaires to them. You can seek opinion, elicit their opinion. The metric should drive business decisions and also determine the value of the program for those who funded them. So, people who have funded, they are also stakeholders. So, you must involve them, check the relevancy of the metric, and see if the performance indicators are inside the scope of the project, whether you can really do that, whether that is practical to do, whether it is practical to do. Carefully review how the metric can be connected to the key performance indicators. Every organization has, for each level of employees, some key performance indicators. Whether the key performance indicators are taken into account while doing this. So, review the metric based upon that. Always ensure that there is enough data available to draw conclusions. Data volume is important for data integrity and accurate insights. So we should never be in a hurry to do the result for level 4 evaluation. We should wait for enough workforce to have completed the training, and we should have a larger population in the organization to draw any conclusions. So the next model that we have is the Cairo model. It was developed by War, Bird, and Rackham, and it was published in 1970. And the book is Evaluation of Management Training, and you can find the model there. Cairo stands for context, input, reaction, and output. The Cairo model is specifically aimed at evaluating management training, and it is a hierarchical model. We will have a look at it. Now, what are the levels of the Cairo model? Context evaluation, input evaluation, reaction evaluation, and output or outcome evaluation. What does context evaluation mean? When we do context evaluation, we assess the operational situation that a business or organization finds itself in. We have to make an assessment of the competitors, the political environment, the support from the government or any other organizations that the that a business organization needs, or the environment. It helps in identifying training needs and objectives. So actually the Cairo model starts with the training needs and objectives, and needs analysis gives list of factors that may impact training effectiveness, how good the training was. This can be analyzed through, like, you have a list of factors after the training needs analysis, and these are the factors that would impact the training, so you have a list of that, and you must have the desired level of performance that you want for the organization, and what is the existing performance level of the employees at present, and what is the gap between that. Hmm? And based upon that, you make the training objectives, and what are the needs of the population. You have to make that. So in the context evaluation, we are actually focusing on the gaps and the needs and objectives. Now the needs are identified at three levels. First is the ultimate objective, to eliminate an organizational deficiency like low sales, low productivity, poor customer service, more customer complaints, or more returns. Hmm? Intermediate objectives, it could be like requiring a change in employees' work behavior to achieve ultimate objective. Like we want more sales, but there are the employees are not able to reach the target, or maybe they are not motivated. Any kind of objectives that lead to the increase in sales figures, or low productivity, or maybe there is more attrition. And what are the intermediate objectives to change the employees' work behavior to achieve these objectives? Then the immediate objectives, acquiring new skills and knowledge as a result of the training, or changing employees' attitude, and then the behavior. So it works on three kinds of levels: ultimate objective, intermediate objective, and immediate objectives. So then we do the input evaluation. Here, choosing best training intervention, possible training techniques and methods. To provide these, to meet these objectives, what are the best training interventions that has to be seen? Then evaluating the design, planning, management, and delivery of the training course, and analyze the organization's resources, and it determines how these resources can best be used to achieve the desired objectives. Hmm? So that is what input is here. Like, what are the best training interventions? Where, how we can give the best training, what design, what management, and how it should be delivered. That is seen in the input evaluation. Then we conduct the reaction evaluation, collecting views and suggestions of the participants about the training they received. And the reactions could be collected on the program content, the approach of the training, or what value has been added to their already knowledge and skill and attitude, what they already know, what value has been added by the training. Information is like you find ways to improve the training program. Information is used to find this, to improve the training program. Hmm? So that is what reaction level is in Cairo model. And O stands for outcome. So output or outcome. Actually, results of the training are presented at three different levels for the outcome. Immediate, that is the reaction level, for example, of the Kirkpatrick. How the trainees got on and whether they managed to complete the training successfully. Intermediate takes some time. After some time, changes to the course design or acquiring new training resources. Then ultimate level, main goals for the organization, ones that have a far-reaching impact on the organization. Now, or outcomes can be measured at the learner level, the workplace level, the team or departmental level, even the business level. So this is the Cairo model, and you can see that like it is more restricted to the training.
Ma'am, if I may,
Hmm.
now the except for the outcome, which is the level 4 of the Cairo model, the
Mhm.
first three levels are strikingly similar to what we were
Yes.
taught in Addy's model of making the training need analysis. Because setting the context is actually finding out the need analysis. And the
Mhm.
second input is actually the designing of the training as to how you are designing the training, what are the resources available, etc. And
Mhm.
reaction is the formative evaluation that is done immediately after the program. So it's fairly similar what I can make out in the
Hmm.
first look on the
Yeah.
Cairo model.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, these are different ways. The models are different ways to do the same thing. And what is more important for you? For example, if you're more concerned with the training objectives and the learning, then Cairo model can be adopted. And otherwise, if you are more concerned about the performance and the outcome of the training, then probably the Kirkpatrick. So it is your choice. You have different ways to do this. Okay. For example, if you want to check fever, you can have a infrared thermometer, you can have a the classic mercury thermometer, you can have other things also. So that's all the things are used to do the same thing, but you can have different approaches. So similarly, the models do the same thing, but you have different approaches, and it depends upon where your focus is. As an evaluator, if you want to focus on trainings, so you can choose according to what is useful for you. These are the different ways. Kirkpatrick model is much more popular than the Cairo model. Mostly people, because that is more comprehensive, I feel. So
Is there anything, ma'am, any specific contingency in which these models are used that the Cairo can be used only for
I will show
training
you
of
one
management?
example. I will show you one example where Cairo model is used. For example, a software company is specializing in management software, okay, and it is looking to find ways to boost their sales. They decide to use the Cairo model to develop their plans, set their goals, and choose the right training course. So, when you have different proposals, it is best to take the Cairo model because it gives you a number of things. So, at stage one, they did the context evaluation, determine the training needs, and then develop objectives that help the company meet its goal of improving sales. Their goal was improve sales, that was the ultimate objective, and they want to determine the training needs and then develop objectives. So that was the first stage. To identify the lack of product knowledge of their sales team, the ultimate objective was to improve the software sales. Intermediate objective would be to encourage sales staff to research the latest software updates and developments. And immediate objectives would be to boost product knowledge among sales team member. Hmm? So these were the taken. These could be taken at the context evaluation stage. Stage two for this model for this software company would be input evaluation. They analyze various training courses and weigh up the costs and length of each one. What is already being done? What are other organizations doing? Or what is available? They see the pros and cons and compare the costs. They will determine which course would best achieve their desired objective based on their budgetary constraints and other requirements. And stage 3 is the reaction level. The sales team members have to complete a survey or questionnaire. Data from this evaluation would be used to help the company decide whether the training offered value for money and what changes may be made to future training sessions. Whether the conditions for learning were present in the training or not. So, when the training has happened, they are doing this. And stage 4 for this particular organization would be outcome, the learning and its impact on the employee's work, how the people learned what they learned, and how it is like how the behavior has changed, how the workforce has changed their behavior, and sales are coming or not. Hmm? What happened as a direct result of this, and whether the managers were implementing the tools and techniques they learned during the working hours. Senior managers could investigate an organization's revenue to see whether the sales figure had improved. Managers would present results from the training and determine whether the ultimate level, intermediate, and immediate goals were met. So, that is a scientific way of doing things in the Cairo model. And this was one example where Cairo model could have been used. So, friends, if you have any questions, then you're welcome till this stage. From the next session, that will be tomorrow, 10 a.m., I will be talking about ROI model. So,
So,
anything you want
ma'am,
to share or just ask?
would it be fair to say that in the Cairo model, the first two stages are primarily used for planning purposes, and the next two stages are uh, obviously after the training has been conducted to measure the efficacy of the training?
Yeah, that is obvious, I think. That is obvious. Actually, context means like you are trying to measure what would be good for you, what would be good for the organization, which kind of training you should take up. You're very right. Yes, that is obvious in this model.
Excuse
Ma'am,
me, ma'am.
in
Kirk,
If you could, yeah,
excuse me,
please ask. Yeah, please ask.
yeah, ma'am, in Kirkpatrick's model, there was the
Mm-hmm. Juhi, Preeti, can you talk a little louder?
yeah, ma'am. In fourth
Hmm.
model, the outcome. If you can show me that a slide, where we were talking about the outcome evaluation.
You're talking about the Kirkpatrick model.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, outcome of level 4. So,
Yeah, tell me.
ma'am, as hello, excuse me. Yeah, ma'am, as you were mentioning that the fourth level is normally of, we do not reach to that level normally.
Hmm.
So, hello?
Ideally, we should be doing it, and it also depends. Preeti, it also depends upon the size of the organization. If it is a smaller organization, it will be easier for it to do. If it is a larger organization, it might even be difficult and more challenging to do. Yes. What is your question, Preeti?
Yeah, so, but then, I mean, my point was that how KP has come up that till this point, we should be able to, uh, evaluate the training program. Because if normally we are not reaching in on practical
Oh,
grounds.
I got your question. I got the dilemma you're facing. What is it? Yes, ideally it should be done at Kirkpatrick's. It's not nil. It's not eliminated. If you look at the ASTD journals, many organizations are doing it, but hardly 16, 17%. Hmm? And because a lot of time is invested, and a number of complicated things activities happen at this stage, so very few only a few organizations do it. It is not nil. It is not nil. What I meant was, it's not so popular, especially in India. In the West, yes, people are doing it. The progressive organizations, Fortune 500 organizations, want to do it, and they try to do it. Am I answering your question,
Yes,
Preeti?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much,
It's
ma'am.
not nil.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Actually, what happens, Preeti, is we don't take training seriously. Even in the organization budgets, the training gets the last or like not very high priority. V- Actually, it should be getting high priority because if the workforce is trained, the organization earns much more. The business organization earns much more on this investment. This is a very good investment. You should invest on your human resource, much more on your human resource because they're the best resource that you have.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I think
Excuse me,
Preeti
ma'am.
and yeah, Juhi.
I
Juhi
just
was
wanted you to show the input evaluation slide for Cairo model once.
okay. Yeah.
And this the last point analyzes the organization's resources and determines how these resources can be used to achieve the desired objectives. If you could give one example.
Uh, how much budget do you have? Can you have a in-house training, or do you need to go outside the organization to train your people? Like you hire experts and train within the organization, or you send your people somewhere, maybe even abroad, depending upon the requirement of the product, knowledge, or anything that the organization wants. So resources could be like time, could be cost, could be people. Hmm? So
Okay, ma'am.
can you really send your people away? These are the analysis that you have to make. This is
Oh,
just only an example. It will be
yes.
differing from one organization to another organization.
Right, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so can we end it here, the session? And we will begin 10 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow morning. And so I'm just leaving the uh, meeting now. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much,
And
ma'am.
yeah, we
Thank
will
you,
be
ma'am.